especially when it passes through urbanized areas, whether that should be replaced by the more sensitive avenue type of design. And the immediate concern is the highway leading to Cyclone. And there have been objections, and I think those are agreeable in a way. Do we really want another major highway, concreted highway, going into otherwise serene countryside? The third point I would like to make is on education. Traffic calming will work in a way, but if we do not have compassionate drivers, then it might not work as we like them to be. In Hong Kong, drivers typically do not slow down, even if they are pedestrian crossing, and we do need to have much more intensive education, not only for existing drivers, which are difficult to convert, but for children, school children, we must teach them the concept of shared road usage, and that speed kills. The fourth topic I would like to talk on is the integration with quality of living, streetscape, and landscape. And I think road safety is not a standalone subject. We need to provide traffic calming and crossing facilities, taking into account the landscape. We want high quality streets and roads. Our streets should be designed for all pedestrians, not the typical pedestrian with a certain walking speed, but there is a diversity of behavior and diversity of needs. And a core topic, a core subject of road safety is speed. We talk too much on speed, but we do not understand it enough. The reason is that if we look at this graph, the probability of pedestrians surviving a traffic collision, it increases sharply between 30 kilometers and 50 kilometers. If we have a pedestrian hit by vehicles at 50 kilometers, it is more likely that he will die. If he is hit by a vehicle at 30 kilometers per hour, there is still a 90% chance that he survives. The problem is that nowadays the urban speed limit in Hong Kong is 50 kilometers per hour, and we think that we are very generous, but in fact it's not. We have to look at 30 kilometers per hour at critical situations. We have to, of course, we have to balance between mobility and safety. But in some areas, especially urban zone streets, we would like to see a much lower speed in order to improve safety. There are a number of techniques. I mean, urban traffic calming, 30 kilometers per hour zone, and that could apply to a zone of urban areas, and that could also apply to a stretch of urban streets. But of course, the technique is critical. In Hong Kong, the traffic density and the traffic demand is much higher than, say, what this picture shows in Europe. But this is not completely the story. In Hong Kong, we still have roads and streets which has much less traffic density, and there is still a lot of scope to introduce that kind of concept. Another area where we can apply traffic calming is on rural roads, rural highways. And we do not have hundreds, thousands of kilometers of rural highways as compared to many countries and even in China. But we do have rural highways cutting through the rural areas in the new territories, for example, cutting through villages and some urban towns. And there is still a lot of scope to introduce different kind of rural traffic calming. I mean, not necessarily the same type as what I showed, but there are different techniques adapting to the real situation, real traffic demand, and the pedestrian needs. And finally, When designing for streets and roads, we must give consideration for quality of life, convenience for those living along the road, and of course certain convenience for drivers as well. But we also need to talk about streetscapes, aesthetics, and landscape. Sometimes we talk too much on large plans, grand plans covering the whole city, and we talk about it for years, and then it never materializes. What I see is that we should also concentration on small designs, small street corners, whether it is the traditional old districts in Central and Western District, whether it's in the new town of Zhengguan or Sha Tin. We should give more consideration adapting the aesthetics to local environment, to local geology, local landscape, and local heritage. And there's a lot of scope, I think, if we do care about this subject. I would like to just give a short introduction that the design standard in Hong Kong for streets and roads is in fact governed by a single document, and that is the Transport Planning and Design Manual. And this manual is not available to everyone. Of course, if you require it, then you can ask for it. But it has been developed largely on the British approaches, but in the 1980s. But since then, in the 1990s and the 21st century, even the British approaches have advanced. For example, to have traffic calming, design for streets, etc., etc. But in Hong Kong, we are still lagging behind. And the design manual is based on a lot of assumptions. For example, assumptions that drivers will behave, they will drive at 50 kilometers per hour, etc., etc. But then we do not understand the reality enough. We do not need a lot of research and development, but unfortunately that is lacking in Hong Kong. And therefore, I think that we do need for visionary approaches in the design of streets and roads. And that takes time, of course. Well, finally, I would like to emphasize again road safety, to draw to your particular attention that the next decade we need to talk about road safety. Thank you very much.